Cool. Um, all right, John. Great to see you again. We're going to do another conversion-focused website review today. We're going to take a look at CrossNet game.com, which
Okay.
I've never played CrossNet. It looks really fun, but I do know it's like taking the world by storm. I know they were just featured on ESPN. I'm not sure if it was a dedicated event or like, primarily a volleyball event, and they kind of had the halftime show, for lack of a better term. But I know they're selling like hotcakes, and Chris, one of the founders over there, is all over Twitter just shouting from the rooftops about the wins that they're having. So I'm interested to see, what they're doing so well and how they're making these things move off the shelves. And I'm excited to have you here with me to share your expertise, because I think their homepage is a little bit of a deviation from the norm. So
hmm
yeah, I've got it loaded up here. First impressions is I can't really see much of anything, right? So that's kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of getting in the way themselves here a little bit at first glance. But what are you seeing, as I have this loaded up, first impressions within the first 10 or 15 seconds?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree. I think they've been growing like gangbusters, and it's been great to see and follow them. They're very active on social with other DTC founders, which is always nice to be part of that community. But looking at the site here, I mean, there's just way too much going on right away, right? I mean, the chat popped up. Let me know if you have any questions before anything else happened. There's an accessibility icon over top that. Um, it's I don't know. It's a lot going on, and then on top of that, you have spin to win, which is right up there with pop-ups for me, if not even worse. The challenge is you're offering not much in exchange for an email address, and these don't typically perform that well. So I'm not really sure how their what their performance level is here. I'm sure if it's on their site, they're either testing it or it's doing well for them, but overall, I just, as you can see, it's super disruptive. One thing that I really appreciate about CrossNet is they always have these amazing social videos, right? People have contributed a lot of content for them, and obviously that's been a huge growth factor for them. But you're covering up all that great user generated content here, and that's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I would expect their target demographic to be in that 18 to 35 range, primarily, people buying it. So, the spin to win is kind of fun. I could see how it might be more appropriate for this brand than other brands, right? But at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like, yeah, maybe a lot of your traffic is coming from ads, or they saw a commercial, or I'm not sure if CrossNet was on Shark Tank, but something like that. If I already kind
Mhm.
of know the brand, then I can let this go a little bit. But for like cold traffic, organic traffic, people who are kind of new to file customers and don't really know what a CrossNet is, like even this value prop about we give free CrossNets out daily, I don't know what that means yet, because I can't even see the beautiful video that you've got in the background here in the hero
Yeah.
section. So it's just a lot of like stuff vying for your attention. And usually in my experience that results in like a panic, close everything, right? Minimize everything, get everything out of
Mhm.
the way, because I'm just so overwhelmed by all this stimulation. I just want something a little bit more simplistic. So if we kind of like pretend that didn't exist or that didn't happen, right, and this was the first impression, what do you think about the above the fold kind of content that's visible here?
Well, I think they do an amazing job of showing, not telling. This is the one case where I love videos in the hero image because it clearly shows what it is and how people are playing it. And Foursquare meets volleyball is a great description, but unless you see the video, it really becomes hard to imagine. And so I love this. I think they're showing a bunch of use cases. They're obviously showing the great user generated content. Get your appeal up here. So overall, I think that's great. I don't mind the shop now CTA. Typically, I'd say you'd want to do something a little more, low intent to purchase here. But the reality is they have one major product. Maybe they have some accessories, but they have the major product they're trying to get you to buy, right? So just dive them right into that. It's not like they have a whole line of products at this point. Although I did hear, I saw Chris, I think, posted on social media recently that they had a new product coming out soon. So um, I think in terms of the navigation, the big bar at the top of the header about CrossNet H2O now being available. I'm not a huge fan of that, only because you might not know what CrossNet is, right? So you have CrossNet H2O all of a sudden, and it's like, well, what is CrossNet to begin with? And usually repping new products up there doesn't perform as well as something along the lines of just like free shipping or shipping over a certain dollar amount spend. So if they do offer free shipping on this, or shipping over a dollar amount spend, then that's really what should be up there. In terms of the navigation in general, James, I'm not a huge fan of just having shop. I think that, it's something that how to play, get involved, store locator, FAQ. A few of those could get removed. Store locator, okay, I understand, but that should also perhaps be under shop, for people who are looking to get the product today, as opposed to waiting a day or two for shipping. Um, I'm not really sure what get involved means. How to play is great to have up here. I fully support that, because people may be coming here to learn more about the rules, etc. Where else are you going to go? You're going to come here, right? FAQ, though, I would really remove. FAQs are where good content goes to die. If people really have that question asked frequently, put that in the path of where the question is coming up, right? Is it on the product detail page? Is it about the rules? What are the frequently asked questions? That content should be placed where those questions are being asked.
Yeah, a lot of good things there. A couple things I wanted to, I guess, add to or pile on about is the background video. I think one example where we see this done poorly is you'd have somebody like riding a mountain bike and doing some really exciting things through the mountains, but it's really a company that sells like the pants that guy's wearing, and like you
Mhm.
can't tell that it's about the pants. It feels like it's about the mountain bike, right? Or maybe even like the
Mhm.
excursion that he's on. So this is an example of video done well, just like you called out. But it's also a common trap that a lot of brands fall into, where like they think they're doing it right, but they're not putting their product front and center.
Mhm.
This is a good example here. And then in the kind of the free shipping bar or the notification bar that we talk about, one thing I noticed is like the only thing clickable up here is the text. So if I click anywhere else in the bar, it doesn't do
Mhm.
the actual CTA action. And this isn't necessarily styled like a link, or like most people would expect a
Yeah.
link to look. So just having a button up here might improve their adoption if they're going to keep this call to action, or just making this entire bar clickable, right? Because that's really what you want. It's like if anybody's interested at all and they get into these margins, you still probably want them to go to that destination page.
Mhm.
To your point about navigation, get involved, I noticed does not open on hover. I have to actually click it. So that's kind of interesting. Most of the time I see
Oh.
those things open by default when you hover over them. But it looks like it's kind of I'm guessing they would maybe donate some uh, CrossNets to physical education programs at schools, and then they've got wholesalers and retailers and an ambassador program. So normally, I think that would be like footer content, but if you removed FAQ like we recommended, you're already at 5 items or less. But it does feel a little congested with like the currency
Mhm.
converter, the site search, the account, the shopping cart, or what they're calling a bag. Some of these things I wonder if they could be hidden, for new to file customers or prospects versus people who already bought, right? And just only show them if they're return visitors or something like that. But yeah, okay. So moving down past the hero section, what I thought was interesting about this homepage is it kind of gets right into like a PDP type of layout here immediately following the hero section. I think, maybe we don't have strong feelings against that because it is such a single flagship product kind of brand. But I'm curious to hear
Mhm.
your thoughts about this flowing directly from kind of that homepage hero section.
Yeah, I think you're right. It all comes down to them having one major product. The Now that they have a H2O version and perhaps something else coming out soon, based on that rumor mill I mentioned earlier, I don't know if I can support this as much as helping people understand which one they want. I would be, as a consumer, very disappointed if I bought this and was expecting to be able to use it in my pool.
Hmm.
And I couldn't. I know it says set up within minutes in sand, grass, or indoors, but um, yeah, I think that they do such a good job of describing what the product is up above, and I get that they're just trying to very quickly get the purchase here. And for 150 bucks, it's something that this could work well. But I think as they continue to have grown as a company, this is probably less effective, if you will,
Hmm.
and and shortchanging all the additional revenue opportunities that they have.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And it's not that this is a premium product necessarily, but there isn't a whole lot of social proof to go off of yet, right? Like we've got 578
Mhm.
reviews here with a strong rating. We've got some pictures, but these are probably models. These probably aren't actual customers. Like I bet we're going to get into some more of that. I bet they do have some kind of celebrity or athlete or influencer endorsements
Mhm.
coming up, customer testimonials. So maybe you want to see some of that stuff incorporated here. But the one thing I will say is like giving these kind of payment options and stuff, if you're going to have this kind of structure where it is kind of forcing somebody pretty quickly into adding this to their cart, seeing stuff like reviews in here or payment options or different payment types, like those are little trust indicators. I see some badges kind of creeping up down here where you get a
Mhm.
30-day warranty and shipping in 48 to 72 hours. Like if I'm going on a bachelor party trip, like I might want to know that there's going to be quick, reliable shipping there. So all those things I think are positive decisions if you're going to go with this section here on this page. The one thing that I thought was kind of counterintuitive is I was expecting these arrows for these carousel to swap out the main image, but it actually navigates me
Mhm.
through kind of these sub images, which I think is like, I don't know, I
That
don't look
is
at as many
interesting.
sites as you, but like most of the ones I interact with would swap out the feature image. And then I would use some
Mhm.
kind of a scroll bar or a second set of icons to navigate these. But really, if I want to look at some of these pictures in finer detail, I got to click down here, not these arrows up top,
Yeah.
which is kind
Yeah,
of
that's
interesting.
poor user experience right there. I would definitely adjust that, pretty it'd be pretty easy to do.
Yeah. I do like how it shows a combination of like what you get for your purchase, but also the product being used. And we saw the video before. So I think there's plenty of stuff to go off of. Just looking at this picture, as somebody who has young kids, like, I don't know, these kids seem fairly old. And like, unless this adjusts up and down, that seems pretty hard for them to use, right? So that might actually deter me from a purchase if I have like a young teenager. And that might be something I want to know in some of this descriptive text. Like it does say height
Yeah.
adjustable for men, women, and children, but it doesn't look like they took advantage of that feature here, right? Because I don't know, that just looks like it would be hard for those kids to play this reliably.
Yeah, maybe even stating what the height is adjustable between.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I again, this is where all these questions that you have, I'm sure a lot of other consumers are having, right? So when you're pushing somebody right into purchase right now, um, that's going to be a bit of a challenge. So really focusing on getting people that next step in the funnel is going to be key, which is generally the PDP.
Right. Okay, let's make our way down. Looks like this is the product in the callout section, the notification bar up top. Same kind of
Hmm.
concept, but it looks like it's going to float and be used in your pool. So same structure, same layout. The badges didn't come with this one too, which I don't know if it really
Hmm.
matters to include them again. But it probably doesn't hurt, right, to know that this product also ships really quickly and has a 30-day money back guarantee or whatever. It's probably not a bad decision. Now, interestingly, this navigation does swap out the feature image. So consistency is kind of lacking between these two product feature sections.
Yeah, this almost feels like another variant of the product to me,
Hmm.
right? And you could combine these two feature areas, and the H2O would just be a separate variant. Uh, CrossNet may feel differently about that because it's their product, but as a consumer looking at this, it's like, well, if I want to use it in water or on a hard surface, what are my options?
Yeah.
And so that's something to consider.
Interesting. Okay, cool. But they do have the secondary CTA of learn more. So,
Mhm.
maybe that gives folks the option to go answer some of those questions we had earlier. And my hypothesis was correct. Looks like we got a little bit of social proof, some kind of PR
Mhm.
coverage coming in here, media coverage. Not sure how to navigate through these. Like I see these little circles down here, but again, normally I'd expect to see an arrow. But I think our advice would be just find 6 of your most compelling ones and present them all at one time in kind of a lockup, like a table type of arrangement. And I recognize a lot of these names, so I think that's a good thing. But I can't really see how it was covered on CNN or Forbes or the Today Show. Like
Mhm.
none of these, I can open the image, but they don't have a link associated with them, so I can't see the context there. I can't see what was said about them. There's nothing else to go on but like these logos.
Yeah, it makes me think that perhaps they advertised in these places
Hmm.
and weren't featured there. I don't know. That's a common concern we hear from consumers. So I highly recommend just doing a lockup with all 9 of them and make them much smaller. You could probably go 4 across pretty quickly
Hmm.
even. I mean, those logos could be a third of the size and still be as effective.
Right. Let's see. Then we get down into how to play. So they're bringing in some of these elements from the primary navigation. Looks like it's fairly brief, little punchy one-liners about how to, which makes me feel like it's simple enough to use, right? And I can also watch this video to see somebody play it in action. We probably won't watch that, but I'm guessing it has some kind of voiceover or something like that. So, yeah, I like this section. I'm almost wondering if it should have come before, like if your goal is to get somebody to buy these, I can see why you would put those kind of PDP, product detail lockups, a little bit higher. But from a
Hmm.
user's perspective, I don't know. I'd almost expect to see this first. Like, how do I even play this thing? What is this game? Is it a good fit for me, my friends, my family, whatever? And then, okay, I'm sold. Like, I want to buy the sand version or I want to buy the H2O version. That's how the logic flows in my brain. But I don't know if you feel differently or you agree.
No, I agree, and I think they've done a really good job of making it simple to understand, and I'd love to see it in action. I'd love to see that call to action be more in line with the style they've had on everything else. That the yellow button, um, but it's great that they've really incorporated video well here. And I think with a lot of these type of products, the only way to really show is to show, and a video is gonna make that happen.
Got it. The one thing that jumps out at me from a copywriting perspective is it's weird to call this out and bold this, right? Like that's actually an objection that a customer might have is like, I don't know,
Mm,
most of the time I just go somewhere like with my girlfriend or my wife or whoever and it's like, well, we can't play it together, so why would I buy this? I got to have a large group of
mhm.
friends. I got to coordinate all those schedules and get everybody there at the same time and then I got to have four people who actually want to play when two people might just want to sit there and sip a mai tai, right? So like that's actually an objection I would have and to call that out feels a little counterproductive if the goal is to get somebody to buy this. So I wonder if there's a different phrasing here. Like CrossNet's a great way to get large groups of friends involved in the same activity or something like that, right? Like maybe there's
Mhm.
a different spin that you could put on that.
Yeah, there's
Um,
some copywriting perhaps that can be done there, but I do love the fact that they are calling out that you need force so you don't have a disappointed customer. And it's probably a question you get quite often. Can you play with two people? Right. I mean, I guess you could, yeah, but then it's just like volleyball, right? It's
right.
not Foursquare. So
Right. Okay. So then they get into bestsellers. And so it does look like, to your point, they have the flagship product and maybe more recently CrossNet H2O, but then some accessories like an indoor outdoor bundle. Curious to see what that's all about. And then I guess padded bases maybe to use in a context
mhm,
like this. So it's not sliding around the floor. So interestingly enough, like some of these accessories are the same price as the actual product, which, that's more of a strategy play. But in terms of this lockup, you can see when I hover over things, we get this shop now button that pops up, and then it looks like you might be able to add to cart with this icon up in the top right.
mhm,
So the icon itself is a little novel. I'm sure other stores have that, but I don't encounter it all that often. This shop now button is a little bit more common in my experience, but I'd also expect to see maybe a one-liner about what this product is, right, and why it's different from the flagship CrossNet, or why somebody would want it
mhm.
versus the indoor-outdoor bundle, so to speak.
Yeah, I was gonna call that out as well. I think a one-liner there would go a long way.
Right. Same thing with like what is the CrossNet plus doubles net bundle? Like these are all terms that the CrossNet team understands intimately because they were part of the product development process. But like as the average consumer, like I don't know what is the difference between a doubles net and a CrossNet. Like maybe the doubles net is a little longer, so you can fit two people in each square, and so like you got four teams of two. But I don't know. This picture isn't quite enough to make that immediately clear to me. So even just one line saying like, extend your cross net to fit, two people in each square and double the fun or
Mhm,
something like that. Like something like that is enough to help somebody understand what this is about. But yeah, I did notice they have some strike through pricing here. So that's good. I think
mhm,
normally we would say if something's on sale, also include the savings, either percent off or dollar amount off to kind of quantify that savings. So I don't have to do this math in my head. And the other thing that maybe jumps to mind here is like, not necessarily, I guess shop now is like just getting them one step in the funnel. And when I first read it, I was thinking like add to cart, but I'm glad they
mhm,
didn't go with that here because a lot of brands do go straight with an add to cart. And we've seen them do that up above with the primary CTA. They had add to cart with a learn more as a secondary. But I'm glad that they kind of slow played it a little bit down here with some of these best sellers because, yeah, you just want somebody to go to the next step in their buyer journey. And that's not straight to putting the product in their cart and checking out. It's more like learn more or shop now. So I think that was a smart
mhm.
move on their part.
Agreed.
Awesome. So then we'll move down here. It looks like they've got some big retail presence. So these are the places they can be found. And I'm trying to figure out. So I think this is going to take you to the Walmart site, take you to the Target site,
Mhm,
that kind of thing. I saw they have a store locator, so I'm guessing that also incorporates these retail locations because I don't think CrossNet would have its own kind of physical footprint. But this
right.
is super compelling. 2,000 plus locations. I wonder. We recently published a piece about channel conflict here, and that's coming to mind for me as the guy who helped get that out into the world. Is like, okay, so you have sales directly through CrossNetGame.com. Somebody is literally on CrossNetGame.com. what's the incentive to push them to a place where you're probably having a reduced margin, like giving it this much prominence on the site? I'm sure they have a
Mhm.
good reason, but to me, it just seems like you're taking somebody away from where they're at now to get more. Maybe they get instant gratification from shopping at Target, but you also lose money on that purchase. So, what are your thoughts on that? Kind of like foregoing maybe the long-term gain of a higher margin, but it does take 48 to 72 hours to deliver to the customer versus giving them
Mhm.
the option to go down the street and get it from Target today, but CrossNet, the company, won't make as much of a dollar amount on that.
Well, I think, part of the reason CrossNet's been growing so fast is the awareness that they exist. And being in these retail locations is, if you're looking at yard games at Target, like, and you see CrossNet, you're like, yeah, that could be fun, right? So the reality is the opportunity on a brand side for them is pretty good to be in all these locations, I would think. Especially if you're having a barbecue and you want it, like you said, this weekend, you really just got to go get it at retail. So I think there's options there that are good to have. I do like the order that they put all this information on their homepage. They started with direct buy DTC, and then they're down here de-emphasized even a little bit by not having them be color logos, by kind of having it lower on the page. That this option's here, but it's if you're cool just buying it, you have had that option a handful of times before you got here.
Yeah. One thing I'm noticing is Wilson and Wegmans are not linked anywhere. And I know Wegmans is
Mm.
a grocery store chain in the South. I remember that from living in Florida. So maybe that's part of it. But like maybe you could still link that to the Wegmans store locator search results page, right? And just like take them one
Mhm.
step closer to finding the Wegmans close to them that carries it. Cause it'd be a pain to go to your local Wegmans and it's not in that one, but it's in, hundreds of other ones. And I don't even know what Wilson would be referencing. Like, do they have storefronts? That's a brand. I know
Yeah, I
that in the
didn't think they
tennis
did,
market.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. One thing I'm not seeing here though is Amazon, right? There's no other online retailers listed here. I guess you can buy online through Walmart, but you might as well buy from CrossNet at that point. But I wonder if they do sell
Mhm.
on Amazon, and if so, why they chose not to include that here. It makes sense to me because if you're gonna have somebody buy online anyway, you want them to buy through you to maximize your margin. But the
Yep.
retailers offer that kind of convenience factor. So awesome. So we're getting close to the bottom here, and it looks like they've got kind of that influencer component that I referenced earlier. They've got a USA gold medalist in what I'm assuming is volleyball with a pretty long testimonial here. I know we usually like to see those kept to a couple of
Mhm.
sentences. Let's see what some of these other ones are, and then we can comment on this section in general. There's another volleyball player, women's volleyball. Cool. That guy looks like he's having fun. I like that beard, little Viking beard. Awesome. So just a lot of volleyball ones, and then you've got a mother in here. So I guess you've got
Okay.
somebody who bought it for their kids, which is kind of fun. And then it looks like it restarts. So what was that? Five or so. Four of them are
Mhm.
professional and/or Olympic volleyball players of different kinds, and then you've got a mother layered in here, which feels like kind of imbalanced, but also like I get it. I like that she's here. It's just maybe more average consumer mixed in if you're going to do it that way, or keep it all influencer. I would say.
Mhm. Yeah, I look, I think that it's great to have these social proof. I think that people are going to be missing a lot. Very few are going to use that in-page navigation. I'd want to do some click tracking on that to
Hmm.
see if they're getting seen. But making sure these are baked in throughout the conversion journey as well is going to be really helpful. And I definitely agree. You got to get these quotes down to one sentence, perhaps. What's the main point you want people to know?
Yeah, and I mean these navigational elements are tucked way off to the edge of the page.
Mhm.
Like I'm almost concerned I'm going to click out of the window at that point for the purposes of this recording. But one other thing I'd say is like they've done so well with video up to this point, and I know the world's been a little crazy in the last year, so maybe you can't shoot video with these folks. But as it opens back up, as you get back out there, I mean, video from these professional athletes would be much more compelling. It reduces the overwhelm of kind of these blocks of text for the big paragraph testimonials, but also like user generated content. Like get Robin to record a quick 30-second video testimonial or something like that. There are tools out there to
Yep.
help you do that. I think that'd be so much more compelling. Stitch them all together into a 2-minute kind of like montage, and you've got yourself a pretty compelling testimonial section there. So let's see. Moving down toward the footer, it looks like this is going to be an Instagram feed, maybe. Yeah, it looks like these are all going to go out to. So all four of these appear to be linking out to their main CrossNet profile page on Instagram. So it's not anything
Mhm.
shoppable. It's not to the individual post. It looks like it's all just going to take us right there, which I think is a missed opportunity, right? First, make these shoppable.
Yeah.
Second, don't take anybody to Instagram because that's just a distraction haven. Any feedback on this section before we get into the footer?
Yeah, definitely want to keep people on your site. So if you click on it, it could open the picture a little bit bigger in an overlay, and then have a link to buy the product that's shown there, or products. That will perform well, but clicking on it and sending people to Instagram is definitely a lost opportunity. You're sending them way back up the funnel, so wouldn't want to be doing that.
Right. Cool. So then we're down into the footer, and what you see is what you get here.
Mhm.
I'll let you comment on the structure here. The one thing I see already is all these different payment options. We see these all the time on the bottom of home pages, and really, I don't think they make a significant impact in terms of conversion, especially not on a homepage, on a product detail page, right
Mhm.
next to the checkout button, letting folks know that you accept pretty much any payment they have in their pocket. Makes a lot of sense, but right here it's just kind of like, I don't think this is doing anything for you, and it's so bright on this black background compared to everything else down here. It's probably taking up too much attention from somebody's visual focus, so it's probably worth testing, like just removing these and seeing if that draws more attention to some of these other shoppable links and everything.
100%. That's exactly what I would suggest, and really only need to show the ones that matter, in the sense that up above, they had Shop Pay, and that you could split the payments using Shop Pay. I think that's the only time it really matters to show those. Otherwise, I expect you're going to take whatever credit card I have, or PayPal at the very least, and you know, and it's interesting on there. Oh, I do see PayPal. Okay, so the reality is you don't need all of these. It's really not helpful to the consumer at this stage, or especially on every page. I actually just posted a tweet and LinkedIn earlier this week about this, and had a really good conversation with a bunch of folks on LinkedIn about it. And I think where we ended up, everybody agrees that it should just be where the decision is being made, and only a unique type of payment options. Otherwise, for the footer, I think they've done an amazing job here. The only thing I would suggest is taking the CrossFit logo and contact information and moving that to the right side, and moving all three columns over to the left. So start with shop, then about, then support, then have the logo, contact information. And one thing I might add in there is an email address. That is something where it's after hours. I'm not going to be able to call, and I'm not going to be able to chat. Then I'll send an email, and I just think that that really does get the whole trust signals going when you have all three of an address, a phone number, and an email address. So I even love that they put the hours you can call them there. I think that's great, and otherwise, I think their footer is really well done.
Awesome. Totally agree. And so kudos to the CrossNet team for knocking or nailing that one and knocking it out of the park. So awesome. So that brings us to the end of the homepage. I'll scroll back up here to the top where we originally started and just say, I think overall they're obviously doing a lot of things right. The company's growing like a weed. They're working through those wholesale and retail partnerships. And I don't know what percentage of their business is direct to consumer / online sales. But I think we gave them plenty of food for thought in terms of maximizing the effectiveness of anybody that does hit their site and wants to buy online. So any parting words for the CrossNet team before we let you go, John?
Keep up the good work. I think this is great. I think there's some small things that could be optimized, and I'd really love to do some A/B testing on this, because I think that there's a lot of small things that could be tested and really move the needle, perhaps. And as you started off the teardown by saying, they're doing a little bit of an unconventional approach with their homepage, and I would love to continue to optimize that, and make sure that it does help convert as much as possible.
Right. And this seems like one of those brands we didn't even get into the PDP, but just they have such a flagship product in this base CrossNet offering
Mhm.
that like man, optimizing that and just getting every ounce of value out of that you can, because that's where all the eyeballs are going, can really make a big
Right.
impact. So I'd love to maybe take a look at that sometime in the future as well.
That'd be
Awesome,
great.
John. Well, thanks so much for sharing your insights as always. And we'll have you
Mhm.
back to do another one of these real soon. But I appreciate you taking time out of your day to share some insights with me and with the team over at CrossNet. We'll get this over and hopefully they find some ideas to test out.
Great. Looking forward to it.